President Obama has secured enough Democratic votes in the Senate that he can now veto a resolution that would disapprove the deal. His Secretary of State says the deal is a good one and will keep the region safe.
Under our plan, there will be 24/7 monitoring of Iran's key nuclear facilities. As soon as we start the implementation, inspectors will be able to track Iran's uranium as it is mined, then milled, then turned into yellow, then into gas, and eventually into waste. This means that for a quarter of a century, at least, every activity throughout the nuclear fuel chain will receive added scrutiny. And for 20 years, the IAEA will be monitoring the production of key centrifuge components in Iran in order to assure that none are diverted to a covert program.
But critics of the deal remain in Congress, and despite the support from some Democrats, there remains bipartisan opposition. Congressman Pat Tiberi is one of those critics of the deal. He spoke to us this week about his concerns and why he thinks the U.S. should start over at the bargaining table.
And this is an agreement that the U.S. has been party to in terms of negotiating back to the Bush administration. And unfortunately, even if you take the agreement based upon what the President has said, and it does, and I have deep reservations about that in looking at the agreement, and that you can actually trust Iran, and we can talk a little bit about that and the side deals. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that at the end of this agreement, in 10 to 15 years, this legitimizes, embraces, and tells the world that Iran will have the capability to have weapons-grade material. And that's a problem, because that leads every other country in the region to say, if them, why not us? For the Saudis, if them, who've been a bad player on the national scene, the #1 sponsor of financing terrorism in the world, not just in the region, why should they be allowed at the end of this agreement to be a nuclear state? And so I think it actually leads to an arms race, not prevents one.
Tiberi says he's also concerned about side deals that allow the Iranians to self-inspect military sites.
A side deal that says, okay, Iran, this particular military site will allow you to self-inspect your own military. Are you kidding me? It'd be like me as a father telling my 12-year-old daughter, you know, you can self-regulate your homework tonight, and you can go to bed anytime you want to. I trust that you'll go to bed by 9:30 every night, and that you'll brush your teeth, and you'll get ready for school tomorrow. It's about trust, but it's also verifying. And to have the canary guarding the hen house, I mean, it's just crazy. It's ludicrous. It's nuts. And that's the side deal that we weren't party to, that the United States wasn't party to, that Secretary Kerry wasn't party to. And if it wasn't for the international reporting community, the journalists internationally who found this out, we still wouldn't know that today.
The congressman says the threat of a military strike should always remain on the table.
Yeah, the President said all options are on the table, all options continue to be on the table. Do we really believe that? Do I really believe that the President will use a military option? And I'm not saying he should, but do I really believe he will? I mean, remember, red line in Syria. If you cross this line, there'll be consequences. Zero consequences. Obviously, the Iranians understand that. They never believed that this president would walk away from this deal, and never believed that he would use military action. So they've had the upper hand. What did we get other than delaying under the best case of circumstance? The best circumstances, we just delay the inevitable. So my position would be we have to lead and not just want a deal so badly to say we have a deal, which is what the president did. We are probably looking at a situation where this is the one single issue in the Obama administration that he has managed to unite the Israelis and the Saudis, both concerned about this deal. And the fact of the matter is there's no trust that the Iranians will abide by the deal.
And the congressman says it will eventually require the United States to confront Iran.
So sanctions were working. They could have actually worked better. Now we're going to allow them to be released, the economic sanctions, which is $150 billion to the #1 financer of terrorism in the world. That is a big problem, not for just this president in the future, if Iran plays by the rules, but certainly for the next president, for my kids, for your viewers' kids and grandkids. This isn't just because this deal is signed and this president is going to win this month, it looks like. We're going to have a vote later this week. It doesn't mean this problem goes away. I would argue that it's important for Americans to know what's in the agreement, what's not in the agreement, and we're going to have to deal with this ultimately anyway.
In a week that saw